Sports Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Thanks for joining us for Newsmaker Saturday. The magical ride for the Diamondbacks is over, but I wanted to start the program this week with a guy who really made all of this happen. In 1968, a young guy from Chicago named Jerry Colangelo brought the Phoenix Suns here, the city's first professional sports franchise. We know how that turned out. 1994, he assembled a group to bring pro baseball here and built a stadium downtown. We know how that turned out. He brought the Coyotes here in 1996 and, of course, was the architect of Arizona's first major sports championship in 2001. Jerry Colangelo joins us on the program. Jerry, it's great to see you.
Hi, John. Nice to be with you.
I can't tell you how many times your name came up during this past several weeks. I was telling somebody right before Game 5, I said, I remember walking around this stadium when it was a shell with you, and you said, by the way, there's going to be a pool in right field. And I thought, has Jerry gone P.T. Barnum or Charlie Finley on me? What's going on here? It was quirky, and now it's part of our experience out there.
You know, it's interesting. I saw recently myself an article about the pool and the history on the pool and how it came about, and et cetera. And it's now one of the big iconic things that exist in Major League Baseball. The pool is unique in that sense, and so I think it's been well served. It really has. And I saw another piece about our uniforms. Our original uniforms have been ranked in the top 10 of uniforms of all time in pro sports.
Wow.
It was the original Diamondback uniform.
Well, you did so many things right, and you didn't get credit at the time.
I don't care about that.
I know you don't, but you got beat up over taxes for the stadium and the whole bit, and I was in on that a couple of times with you, and I apologize.
You know, no deed goes. What's the
unpunished?
Saying? Unpunished.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Jerry. When you look at this right now, you had to be sitting back as a fan, saying, "I am so thankful, happy, grateful that we went ahead and did all this." I mean, you said at the time. I pulled a clip of you from 30 years ago. You said, people don't understand. They will not recognize downtown in 10 years. And that was prophetic.
Right. I can't underscore how important I believe this is to the present and future economy of our local marketplace in the entire state of Arizona.
Well, yeah, sometimes you dream, and sometimes dreams come true, but you have to work toward making them happen. And I felt all along that sports teams and facilities downtown could really generate a lively, energetic downtown to become a 24/7 downtown at some point in the future. And so the Suns Arena was the beginning. The ballpark, of course, was the second major facility. A couple of nights ago, the World Series game and a Suns game were being played the same evening. 90,000 people, roughly, were attending those two venues in downtown Phoenix within a block and a half of each other. Think about what's really happening when 90,000 people show up to attend these events. The food, the beverage, the parking, all of the businesses get a piece of the action. And that's why I wanted things downtown, so that everyone would benefit. We had options to go outside of Phoenix, by way of example, to a piece of ground. We would have been the total recipient of whatever took place. No, downtown was in everyone's best interest, and all roads really, truly lead to downtown.
That's a great point. Jerry, I want to go back to the 93 Phoenix Suns,
Sure.
when they made the run to the finals and came up short. John Paxton, I know you probably have nightmares about that. At any rate, off the success of that team, you piggybacked that synergy into bringing Major League Baseball here. And my understanding is George Steinbrenner, Yankees, Reinsdorf, White Sox, and even Bud Selig were involved in trying to get you to bring baseball to Phoenix. Why did you take it on? Why did you think it was the right move? Why was it the right time?
I went back to my early days growing up in Chicago, and that was baseball was a big thing back then. And I was a prospect as a pitcher back then. Um, Jim Bouton, who was on my roster, went on to pitch for the Yankees, wrote a book called Ball Four,
Of
which was
course.
kind of an expose of the locker rooms, which was really nothing very special to write about in terms of reality. Um, and so I thought about those days. I thought about what baseball could do to Phoenix, to the state of Arizona, to the Southwest, and thought about kids and grandparents and going to ball games. And I said I'd do some due diligence. I read a book by John Hellier, who was a writer for the Wall Street Journal, called Lords of the Realm, and it was about collective bargaining 101, if you will, between the baseball union and baseball ownership, and how the union won every major fight, and baseball was in the position it was in bad shape because of that. But I thought it had bottomed out. My due diligence said it was on the way back. And so, through the support of the people you mentioned, they encouraged me to go forward, and I decided, let's go for it. And so that we announced in '95, we were awarded the franchise. Um, we opened in '98, as you well know, as an expansion team, and we had a typical expansion year. But after that first year, we made a decision to try and compete immediately to protect an investment. And so we did. The results in our case were over the top. We won 3 divisional titles. We won a World Series, the fastest ever in the history of baseball, a league that had a great, great history and tradition. So that was a big deal. And I think it really established Phoenix, it established Arizona. It really gave everyone an opportunity to see what could happen in downtown Phoenix. And it was the beginning of what is now an incredible situation in downtown. I think since '01, I think there's been like 12,000 residences. I think the bars and restaurants have jumped from 100 to 250 in 2023. There are 15,000 ASU students here that didn't exist in '01. And we've got a pretty good thing going in downtown, and it's going to get better.
Tell me about, since you've sat in that chair, Ken Kendrick, the current owner of the Diamondbacks, was part of your investment group early on with the Diamondbacks.
Right.
You know him. If you're him right now, do you strike while the iron's hot and try to build this team? Let's start with the players and the franchise, to try to get a couple of pieces and maybe spend some money and say, we're gonna go for it here because we're close. We've got a great nucleus. Is that what you would do? And I know you're very reticent to give anybody advice. You've been very respectful. But sitting in that chair, how do you play it?
Well, I think they have a great young nucleus for sure. I like a number of the young players. So it's important to keep this group together as long as you can under all circumstances possible. And then if there are opportunities to add pieces, you're always looking to get better. How do you get better? It's by bringing in other people. And I would assume, getting the taste of what transpired this year, the D-backs are going to be looking to improve for sure and take it to yet another level. Because they have the opportunity. I think the door might be open for them to establish a pretty good run here. And certainly they could use more help at different positions. And I would assume that's something they would do. And I would assume Ken Kendrick would do that.
Okay, now about improvements either to Chase Field, which was, it's still Bank One ballpark to me. That's an old habit. Do you also strike while the iron's hot, while there's goodwill in the community to try to make that happen, either renovations there or a new facility? Do you see either of those happening?
Well, yeah, I do think this. Timing's everything in life. And because there's a good vibe regarding the Diamondbacks and the situation downtown, I think it's incumbent upon the county the city and even the state to really all come together in some kind of a private-public opportunity to make the improvements that are necessary. It's hard to find a piece of ground in downtown to build another place. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it might be difficult. But I hope and pray that baseball stays downtown. I think that's where it was meant to be. That's why we built it where we did. And hopefully all the parties will come together and make the improvements that need to be done.
Do you think it's most likely that it's improvements to the current footprint, much like they did with your first arena down there?
Well, let's put it this way. Regardless of what the cost would be, it's going to be 25%, probably 30% of what it would cost for a new facility. So the cheapest way to go is make the improvements. The footprint is, I believe, fine. And it's amazing what can be done now to retrofit projects like this. It's happening all the time. But it remains to be seen. Do these parties come together with the same common concern to do what's appropriate or not? And time will tell, but I think this is the time to get to it.
Jerry, you brought the Coyotes here to town. I'm just curious your take as you watch this unfold, the defeat of the proposition in Tempe to build a beautiful facility there on the banks of Tempe Town Lake. Where do you think the Coyotes eventually land?
You know, it seems to me that Gary Bettman, who's a good friend of mine, commissioner of the NHL, is committed to our marketplace. He doesn't want to see them leave. He wants that franchise to be successful. They can't do it in the facility they're in. You know that. Not with that capacity. What is it, 5,000 maximum? That can only be for a few years, and they're taking some big hits financially doing that. So they do need a facility. I was shocked by the response in Tempe because I thought it was not wired. I thought it was pretty well pre-sold, if you will, that this thing would be a positive vote. It didn't happen. What's next? I don't know. I'm also hopeful. You know, my goal, if you remember, John, I've said this publicly many times. Back in the early days when I came to Phoenix, I wanted to make this a major league market. In my mind, it meant 4 major league sports: football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. I was involved in 3 of them. I was not involved in the Cardinal move, but I think our success led to the Cardinals looking at our marketplace. And today, our marketplace is one of the thriving, bustling marketplaces in the country. If you look at all the metrics regarding growth, regarding the future 10, 25 years, this marketplace is right there in the top 5 or 6 when it's all said and done. And so it's important to have all of the sports present and hopefully doing well with good facilities because we need to service the customer.
Couple more things and I'll let you go. You've been very gracious with your time. I'm watching these pictures of games 3, 4, and 5 from the drone, which is a beautiful technological marvel. These shots of that ballpark, Chase Field, with the roof open is unbelievable. You, of course, wanted natural grass in there. You're a purist. And you really wanted the roof. I made this point several times on the broadcast. You wanted that roof open much more than it's been. And it looked so beautiful when it was open. Is that what you'd like to see there?
Well, yeah, it'd be great. But let's face it, we live in a climate where we could not have built a facility without a roof that would open and close. We just had to do that. And so the technology continues to improve, and I would assume that some of the things that would be considered is how to make that more appropriately able to open quicker without any incident possibilities, etc. That's part of what could take place regarding a reimagined Chase Park.
Final thing, and it is a political show. I know you were asked and approached many times to run for governor or other things. Why didn't you do it?
I really felt deep down inside that I could get more accomplished on the outside rather than the inside. Having watched political people do their jobs, some better than others,
Yes.
I thought I might be in a position from the outside to affect things in our community that would be in the best interest of the community without any political issues, promises, ties at all. And I think over my career, I've been able to make a number of contributions that way, regardless of who's been in office.
Boy, is that ever true. And it has been a pleasure covering you through the years. I've really enjoyed it, and you always made time for me.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Jerry Colangelo. Jerry, thank you.
Take care.
We're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday. We're going to put a bow around the season for the Diamondbacks with our team, Richard Saenz and Megan Plain. Back in a minute. Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday, joined by a couple of old pros. You're not so old, Megan, but Richard Saenz, Megan Plain, Megan Champagne Plain.
Exactly.
Guys, I wanted to put a bow on the season with the Diamondbacks. Richard, you first. What's the lasting memory of this season?
Just the magical run, sweeping the Dodgers. That was almost like winning the World Series in itself, and just playing with house money also. Nobody expected them to make the playoffs, much less go all the way to the World Series. So it was great because this was the year they were supposed to be better, but not this good. And it really spoiled us because now we expect the same next year.
And sometimes you can be better on paper and it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Megan, your lasting impression.
Man, it was so cool to see such a young group of guys come together that way. It's, there are times when you think, like you said, on paper a team could be good, and you're like, all right, they should win a title, but there's just a feeling with this group. It's a feeling that you hope carries over, but it was so fun to watch them, and I actually was in the locker room during their locker clean out.
We know.
Yeah, it was
That's how you earned your name.
My name should be played. Yeah, but we were there a day after the loss, so a little bit of a bummer, but they were clearing out everything for the off season, and we asked the guys, what was your favorite part of this whole run? And Zach Gallen, he brought up the champagne celebrations. He's like, yeah, there's nothing like it. You can never experience anything like that unless you win in the postseason. And yeah, it's certainly a memory they'll remember.
Are they aware, Megan, of how they've galvanized this community? Are they aware of it?
I think they are. I think they really are. They saw, the turnout that you got to see from everyone in this area in the postseason. I think they were very aware of it. A lot of guys took the chance to kind of take it in and how the community has really helped them out. And Torey Lovullo as well, he's very aware. He actually apologized he apologized to the Valley after the loss, saying, I let you guys down. I should have won you guys a championship, but I didn't, which, he has no need to apologize because that's what he's done.
Which makes you love him even more. And I think that's why these guys will run through a wall for him, because he's been there, he's done that, and he's been with this franchise through some lean years. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, this team lost 110 games.
It's incredible.
And now here they are in the World Series. And the fact that he always kept it real with them, so to speak, and just, told them, look, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I know it may not be a popular decision, but it's what's best for the team. It's what I think is going to help everyone win.
Do you think they're going to make a push right now, that they feel like they're close and that they could bust through the wall with a championship, that they're close, they've got a lot of the pieces together? Do you expect some major moves?
Absolutely. As long as Mike Hazen is the general manager, there's going to be some major moves.
Do we keep Mike Hazen? Because there's interest from the Red Sox, and that's his pedigree.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he won, with the Red Sox, Torey Lovullo also. But yeah, I think Mike Hazen wants to finish what he started here. You got to remember, you win here, you're a legend. Look at what happens to, the guys that won in 2001. Luis Gonzalez and Randy Johnson. Those guys can still walk around town. It's different if you win here than you win in Boston because they've already won a bunch.
That's
and
true.
So and plus, one thing that Mike Hazen and Torey Lovullo talked about that means so much to them is that this group of guys has grown up within the organization. Corbin Carroll's 23, they drafted him. Gabby Moreno's 23, Brandon Pfaadt's 25, they drafted him. Then you've got Jordan Lawler still barely coming up. Drew Jones, the son of Andrew Jones, is also within the farm system. So it's organically grown, with this franchise. It's not like just going and buying a team like the D-backs did in 2001, which still is effective and it's still great. And even Jerry Colangelo talked about that.
We just talked to Jerry about
this.
It's
different, but it's cool to see.
Megan, if they were going to try to push it to the next level, what do you think they need?
I think they could use another starting pitcher.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the way that they used the bullpen in those bullpen games here in the postseason, they did a fantastic job when it came to the matchups. Torey Lovullo, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, they have all the analytics behind it, and they did a great job with it. But if you have another starting pitcher, you have that number 4 guy that can really take you far in the postseason. And you don't have a game where, you know, we saw it there in the World Series where the bullpen just kind of imploded. And, you know, you're going to have a bad day for sure. But if you do have that number 4 guy, I think that'll make all the difference.
Okay, as we conclude this, your lasting memory that when you look back on this in 30 years, you'll remember that moment. What would it be, Megan?
I think just the joy of everyone during the champagne celebrations, when they're on the field jumping in the pool to celebrate. It's just, I mean, this is something that these people work for their entire lives. So when you get to see the emotion, and not even just the players, like the people behind the scenes, the clubhouse attendants, you know, just all the people that make everything run so well on a day-to-day basis, it's just so cool to see.
And it's part of your DNA now because you were part of that run in your own way covering it. It becomes part of your life experience in a big way.
For sure. It was one of the coolest things I've ever got a chance to experience.
I'm glad you were here to do it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You did a great job. Richard, lasting memory that you kind of go back and go, that was 2023 with the Diamondbacks.
Well, a couple. One is sharing it with Megan because you know she worked.
She's a great teammate.
She killed it. It was really cool to see you grow into your role with our Fox 10 team. And she used to actually work with the D-backs. She worked for the D-backs. So I know this was special for you. And there were a couple of times, I don't want to get emotional here, but when I looked over at her, like, we're at the World Series, man. You know, and you know how long it takes, how hard it is to get to a World Series. So that's definitely some moments that we shared that was really, really cool. And then, you know, being at Game 1 in Arlington and thinking, man, the Arizona Diamondbacks are in the World Series. And then seeing President Bush come out and throw out the first pitch.
That was a full circle moment
That was
for me.
so cool, yeah.
Because I was there in 01 in Yankee Stadium when he threw it out in Game 3.
Yeah.
To see that again, and you see that the years have passed as well.
Exactly. Yeah, and then he was asking for Gonzo, and Gonzo was, you know, come back. Did you see him? Yeah, he went this way. And he's like trying to track him down. I'm like, how cool is that? Where the president's like, hey, where's Gonzo at? You know, looking for him. And so it was just a couple of those moments where it was just like, wow, this really happened.
Quick word on potential stadium improvements. I think you strike while the iron's hot. I got to believe Ken Kendrick, if they're going to do some renovations there, now's the time. You've built a lot of goodwill in the community. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. Now's the time. You got the momentum, you got the fan base, and that was one cool thing. They really did galvanize this community.
No doubt.
It was so cool to be out there and just see so many people so happy and so together, and no one was arguing, nobody cared about anything else but beating the Dodgers or beating the Phillies, and they have the momentum, so now would be a good time to get that stuff out of the way.
There's no political division in there.
Exactly.
In that ballpark, right?
No,
exactly.
How good did it look on national television with the roof open? It was stunning. It's a different park, completely different park with the roof open.
Oh, it was gorgeous. And then when they had the flyover and just everything that goes into a big event like that, my gosh, it's a beautiful ballpark.
Yeah.
When everything is, the stage is set like that, it's just, there's nothing better.
It was nice to show off. You know, they
no
were showing in Globe Life, they had the retractable roof. I'm like, yeah, but where's the swimming pool? Oh, you guys don't have one? We have one back in Arizona. Yeah, I just couldn't wait to say that.
Yeah, I know. Guys, you did a masterful job, both of you guys. And
thank you.
It's great to have you on the team. Good teammates. Megan Play and Richard Saenz. And we're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday. Hope you enjoyed the chat with Jerry Colangelo, Richard Saenz, Megan Plane, kind of wrapping up, putting a bow on the magical season that was. Hats off to the D-backs. That was a great run, and you took us along for a great ride. We'll see you next week on Newsmaker Saturday.